Welcome back to the arcade and another arcade fix. Today we're going to do another, I guess you could say, product review. This is another product straight from Arcade Jason. And if you look at it, you might say it's another test pattern generator. He does have a test pattern generator for raster monitors, but this is his Vector TPG, or Vector Test Pattern Generator. He's going to be selling these through Arcade Shop's website, and I believe he's already sent a bunch of them to Arcade Shop, but as of recording this, I haven't seen them on the website yet. So, to my knowledge, the only other person that may have one is somebody that bought one at one of Jason's auctions he has, online auctions or buy it sale. So I don't know how many more might be out in the wild right now. This might be the second one, but who knows? It might be more. He may have sold some to some already, but I haven't used it yet. I've had it for several weeks now. The reason I hadn't used it for anything, well, really don't have a particular need for it right now, but I do want to get it up and running. But it didn't come with any cables or any way to hook this up. No instructions, so we're going to have to figure all that out. The only thing I've seen is Jason, when he first got this particular one done, he put a short little video on, I believe it was on Facebook, and just showed a few things about it working. So anyway, first thing we have to do is put batteries in it. Now, it does have right here a USB port where you can power it through this USB port. I asked him about this, looks like an earphone jack, and the only thing he told me about that is something for future use, so I have no idea what that's for yet. I'm assuming this is an on-off switch, toggle switch. This right here is the VGA connector, same type VGA connector that you'd find on VGA monitors for computer monitors. Okay, and like I say, it came with no cables. So first thing I did was I ordered some VGA cables, since I didn't have any spares, off of eBay, real cheap, that had this connector on both ends. Okay, so, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let's go ahead and take this apart, and it appears it has a Phillips screw here and a Phillips screw here. I'm assuming that's how you get in to put batteries in it. I'm assuming it uses batteries. You know how it is if you assume something, so but let's find out. I want to kind of see what's in this anyway. Okay, it does have an LCD screen here, so that's a nice feature. So let's see what's in this bad boy. Yep, it appears it uses 4 AA batteries, and there's the business end of it. As you can see, yeah, everything is pretty compact. So, yeah, is that a... I'm not sure what all that is. Is that Wi-Fi? Don't think it's a card. It's not an SD card, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not sure what all this is, but All we need to know is the batteries. Put batteries in it and does it work, okay? Now, you can put regular AA dry cell, alkaline batteries, whatever, in it. But here, within the last couple years, I've had real good success with these rechargeable batteries made by ELB. And these are, let's see, they're lithium ions. And they're 1.5 volt, and they're rechargeable, and they have a USB port on them where you plug them in. They come with USB cables. The original ones I got came with a cable with 4 charge connectors on it, USB connectors. The new ones I just got have 2 by 2. Got 2 of these where you can do 2 at a time. The old ones had where you could do 4 at a time. Or you could just do 1 at a time or 3 at a time, whatever. But most things take these in pairs, or in this case, 4 at a time. So I've already charged these. So we're going to go ahead and put these in. And like I say, these batteries work real good. So if you're looking for a good rechargeable battery, give these a try. I got these off of eBay. I imagine you can get them elsewhere, but I haven't seen them for sale in a local store. And I don't know which way is on and off on this. Get the display up so I can see it, just in case. Get this last one in. Nope, it appears it's in the off position. All right, well, let's go ahead and put this back together. This screw is kind of close to the VGA plug here. Just want to snug them a little bit. Don't want to strip them out, because I'm pretty sure this case is 3D printed case, which appears pretty nice. That don't look right there. I must didn't get it down all the way. Let me loosen these up. Oh, one of the batteries wasn't in all the way. Or popped out. Technical difficulties. All right. Could have swore they were in. Did they pop out on their own? Don't know. Well, let's try this again. Okay, that looks much better. Now that we got that over with, let's flip it on and see if anything comes on. Hey, yes. And it is backlit. That's a nice feature, but it appears to be reverse of what you normally have. The text is white and the background is black. Probably you could change that if you know, in the programming, but I imagine Jason felt that that was probably the best thing to do there. And it does have a little icon up here where you see your status of your battery. Well, when I turned it on, it's set for G05-802X. So now, let's see. I would think that this is the menu system. And this is probably an enter button. So let me get the camera in a little easier position here, and let's play around with it and see what we can figure out here. Okay. See how that works out. All right, let's go ahead and turn it on. And it comes back on the same setting, G05-802X. Okay. So let's see what happens here. Let's push what I think is the enter button. Wait a minute. Let me get this camera locked in so it don't fall on me. It looked like it was falling. All right, let's press this. Okay, so it should be putting out a white decross signal. And if I press this one again, let's see what happens. Nothing. Okay, so that's probably the enter button. I would think that these two right here would be part of the menu system, and this would choose from the different patterns. So let's go to the right side. Yep, a white crosshatch, white V line, so it's a vertical line, white H line, should be a horizontal line, white box plus cross, a white box, white cross, a white D cross, white crosshatch, white vertical line, white horizontal. Okay, we're back. All right, let's see if this button takes us back the other way in the menu. Yes, back to the white vertical line, white crosshatch. So these two just advances in whatever setting we have it in. Okay, now these up and down, I would think should change between the monitor that you want to test. So let's hit the top one and see what happens. Okay, it just goes back to the original. It probably cuts the signal off, I would imagine, because when you hook this up to a monitor, you don't want to feed in a signal that it's not designed for. So I would think that when you're switching between monitor types, that when you get to the monitor type you want to test, you have to press the enter button before it'll put out a signal for that particular monitor. That would make sense. Okay, we're going to check that out. So let's hit this top menu button again and see what happens. Nothing. All right, let's hit the bottom one. Nothing. Okay. Maybe now that we're back into the select mode, maybe the right and left selects between the monitors. Yes, there we go. Here's the G08-003. This is the 1X V2000, which is the black and white version of the G05, the Well Gardner version. This is the Well Gardner 6100 that you find in Atari color vectors like Star Wars and Tempest and all the other ones. 6400, that's a variation of the 6100, and I'm not sure what game that goes in, but I notice kind of a rare bird, I think. Okay, Amplifone, which is what originally came in the Star Wars, and I think it came in some of the other Vector Atari games. I have an Amplifone in my Star Wars, so we'll be testing it on my Star Wars monitor to see how that works. And Vectrex, okay. I think I have a Vectrex somewhere here, but I hid it from myself. I haven't located it yet. I think it's somewhere in a box out in my garage, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure I have it, but I don't know where it is right now. But we're not going to be testing a Vectrex. But if you have a Vectrex, this will hook up to your Vectrex and test the monitor in the Vectrex. Okay, now we're back to the G05. Now the G05-80X, what that X represents is the G05 came in, well, we'll just say basically two flavors. The G05-801, which came in like Lunar Lander. It has a slightly different deflection board with a separate power supply board, a different high voltage cage, and the game harness hooks up to it differently than the G05-802. Okay. In this original early version of the G05, there are two connections on the monitor, and I'll show that later. I think I have one of the adapters here, but I'm going to show you on my game. On my Asteroids, it actually has an Asteroids harness for the G05-801, but it has the factory conversion harness, which converts it over to the 12-pin amp plug, which the G05-803 uses. So, yeah, this will work on either one, but you have to have the cables to connect it to that monitor. Okay, so now we know that right now it's in the mode to be set up for what monitor you want, okay? Because the up and down buttons don't do anything. It's just the right and left buttons, and they'll go back and forth to any one you want. So let's go to the G08, and we'll hit the enter. Now it should be outputting the signal for the G08, the Electrohome G08-003, which you'll find in your SEGA XY games like Star Trek, Eliminator, Space Fury, and all those games. So, and I do have 3 of those games. I got one here in the game room. My SEGA Star Trek, which is in a converted Asteroids. So it has a G08-003 in it. So we'll be checking that out. All right, so we have the white D-cross, RGB gradient. Oh, that's pretty good. Blue crosshatch, green crosshatch, red crosshatch, white crosshatch, blue vertical line, green vertical line, red vertical line, white vertical line, blue horizontal line, green horizontal line, red horizontal line, white horizontal line, a blue box plus cross, green box plus cross, red box plus cross, white box plus cross, blue box, green box, red box, white box, blue cross, green cross. This is very thorough. I can't wait to try this out. And of course, this will back it up. Once you're in it, this does nothing. To get out of this, I guess you can push either one of these. Let's try the bottom one first. No, let's try the top one. Okay, the top one gets you out of it. Okay, and it goes back to your monitor select. Okay, cool. Let's see what kind of patterns you got for the Amplifone. A white D-cross, probably the same as the 6100, because these two monitors are interchangeable. Yeah, basically looks like the same thing for the G08. Only the signal is going to be different for this, because the Electrohome G08 and the Amplifone and the Well Gardner output different signals. So yeah, great. Okay, well, I think we got a basic understanding of how the menu system works now. That was my main concern. Now let's go ahead and test it. And before we test it on a monitor, we're going to test it on my oscilloscope. And we can't, of course, test the color so much, because, you know, we can only test the XY patterns. So, but we can still get a general idea of what it looks like. And then we'll go to the games and try the monitors itself. So, let me go ahead and first explain. Right now, we have no cables, so we can't hook it up to anything, okay? So what I did in the meantime is I made up some cables, of course. So let me get to that, and we'll take a look at that. Okay, well, the first thing I had to do some research. So I looked up the standard VGA pinout and figured out what all the pins were on the standard VGA pinout. This VGA pin has 15 pins, 3 rows of 5 pins. Okay, so I just wrote down, took my own meter to double check to make sure that the VGA cables that I got off eBay were wired up to the VGA standard, which I'm pretty sure it was, but it was. So I went ahead and made my little chart, and you know, since these didn't have the pin numbers on them, I actually had to write out the pin numbers. And this is looking into the connector. A lot of times I have a problem, I don't know if anybody else does, when you're dealing with connectors like this with multiple pins. You look at a chart and they may be on the chart, but a lot of times the picture doesn't tell you if it's the pin side or the wire side. So it's easy for some people to get these flipped, okay, and think that you got pin 1 here where pin 1 might be here. Well, this is looking at the pin side. So in other words, here's the connector. We're looking at the pin side, not the back. If this was one of these connectors that you actually could solder the wires onto, you know, you'd be looking at the back and you'd have to solder each individual wire on each pin. Well, that's when you get confused about, is this looking at the back side or is it looking at the front side? So, okay, this particular one we're looking at the front side, and we didn't have to do any soldering here because this is a pre-made VGA cable. Okay, so I figured out that all the pins are where they're supposed to be. And what was what. And then I figured out which pins I would need and which pins I wouldn't need, because this has multiple grounds in it that you really don't need. So then I made another little pinout here where I had to figure out, like, this is the pin for the G08-803. This is the actual pin on the deflection board. And I had to figure out which pin was number 1, which pin was number 6. And then I labeled them, which is blue, green, red, black is ground. Then you got your vertical, which is your YN, and pin 6 is your horizontal, or XN. Okay, but I don't think this you're supposed to plug it directly into the deflection board. I think you plug it into the clamp board. So I had to also figure out the pin out on the clamp board. And if you're not familiar with the G08 monitor, this is the clamp board that goes on the back of the monitor. Actually, different monitors will have this. I've seen them. This bar goes on the back of the monitor, okay? And I've actually seen this board on some monitors in this position, and I've seen them flip it over where it's in that position. So these pins aren't labeled, so you have to kind of go by the connector. So what I did was I just went ahead and went by the wire color and the schematics in the manual, and figured out that this is pin 1 and this is pin 6. So same thing on the connector here. I labeled them pin 1 to pin 6, and you can see the colors. Now the color is a little faded here. Believe it or not, this first wire here, it looks kind of an off-white. That's actually supposed to be blue. So we got blue, green, red, black, white, and brown. That's the colors that's used on the original clamp board for the G08 monitor. Okay, that was just a spare. So anyway, I did my research. I figured out what was what on that. Now, Arcade Jason is coming out with also a breakout board. What is a breakout board? Okay, this is an actual picture of the breakout board, but this is a picture he posted of the traces on the board. You would get this when you're making the board in a PC board program, and he had posted this, and it has all the traces. So this is the VGA plug. So if you had this board, which I don't have one, I didn't have it, and I haven't seen one populated, and I haven't seen him show how it works yet. But when this is populated, this board, and I'll show a picture of the actual board that he posted online on Facebook. But this right here would have a VGA connector that you would use. The VGA connector would plug into the breakout board here, and the other end of the cable would plug in to the test pattern generator plug. Okay, that connects the test pattern generator to the breakout board. The breakout board is going to have a pin right here for the G08XOX, because there are two versions of the G08, but they have the same pinout. Okay, now I might add that this is the test pattern generator only puts out the signal, the X, Y, the Z for the black and white, and the RGB for the color. Okay, that's what the test pattern generator does. So if you want to test a monitor, this will do the signals, but you still have to apply power to the XY monitor. Now, if it's in your cabinet, it's no problem, because you got power. Your cabinet will supply the power. All right. What this breakout board does is it takes the original cable, the game cable that goes from the game to the monitor. You unplug that cable where it plugs into the monitor, and you would plug it into here. And this would be for the 6400. It would be two plugs here. The Amplifone and Well Gardner 6100 would be these two plugs right here. The V2000 and the G05 would be right here. Now you also have the G05-801, which is the early version, would be the same plug as the G08 because the signals are the same. Then of course you got your Vectrex plug right here. Well, you would unplug your cable from your monitor that you're testing. Well, for the G08-801 and the G08 and the G05-801, it has separate signal and power wires. Okay, so for the G08, you only need this one 6-pin cable. So you'd have to have a cable that plugs in here, and then it would have to have the plug on the other end that would plug into the monitor. So you wouldn't even use the cable from the game. You would leave the power hooked up as it is. Okay, you just need the signal. I'm not going to go through the 6400 because I'm not familiar with the 6400, but it works the same as the Amplifone and 6100 and the V2000 and the G05-802, I mean. The Amplifone and 6100 use a 15-pin connector, and the 2000 and the G05-801 use a 12-pin connector. So you would, let's say you were doing an Amplifone. Well, let's do a V2000. That would make it easier because the V2000 has one plug, one 12-pin plug, which has both the power and the signal in that one plug. So you have to unplug that 12-pin plug from the monitor, and you would plug that in to this plug right here. Okay, that transfers everything on that plug to this plug. Okay, but it doesn't transfer the RGB signals. These three right here would be your let's see. Well, on this you don't have signal. You have X, Y, and Z. These three would be your X, Y, and Z. So here it is right here. This is X, this is Y, and this is Z. And all these are your power. So what you're doing is you're plugging in your original harness here. It's just transferring the power connections straight through to this connector. It's going to blank off the X, Y, Z signals because you no longer want those from your game board. And it's going to incorporate your signals coming from your test pattern generator, which goes through the circuit board and comes out right here at these three terminals. So then you would need a pigtail plug to plug in here, and the other end would have the 12-pin connector that plugs into your monitor. That's how I understand this is going to work. Okay. And the same thing for the Amplifone, but I think the Amplifone, where the Well Gardner 6100 has the 115-pin plug. The Amplifone might, we're going to have to look at the back of my Star Wars to see whether, it's also got the 15-pin plug. But I think it has a separate power plug in between, but this is just using that one big plug. So, like, I have a Well Gardner deflection board right here. This is dirty. I bought this off of eBay years ago. I have a Well Gardner 6100 chassis, tube, and I believe yoke. So I was planning on putting one together. So I gathered all the parts. So that's one reason why I'm going to need a test pattern generator. But anyway, this is going to have to be gone through and reworked and cap kit and update everything on it. But this is the plug right here, the 15-pin plug that your game harness would plug into. So you would unplug this connector right here, and you would plug the game harness into this plug, and then you might be able to plug this directly into the breakout board. I don't know. Or you might have to have a pigtail. I would have a pigtail cable that would plug into this and then plug into this. I don't know how Jason is going to work that out and exactly how that's going to be, but I don't have that option right now. So what I did was I created my own pigtails. So this is what I did. I took the VGA cable I got off of eBay, and if we go to the other end, I cut the other end off, and I put on the cable, or the connector, 6-pin connector, that will plug directly into the clamp board. This is pin 1, this is pin 1. So this would plug directly into the clamp board, and this plugs into the monitor, of course. So now I'd be able to use the test pattern generator on the monitor that's in my game, because it's being powered by the original power supply in the game. Okay, so that's how I intend to do for the G08. Now, do I need to take another one of these cables and put another 12-pin connector on it for the G05-802? And do I need to take another one and make a connector to use it for the Amplifone and the Well Gardner 6100? You could do that. Only thing is, every time you wanted to switch between monitors, you would have to unconnect this cable. And you say, well, it's no big deal. I mean, it's made to be unconnected. Well, how many times can you unconnect a connector and have it break something? This has a little wiggle to it. I should have looked and seen if it was screws under the bottom that screw into that. That would make it much better, but ultimately these are soldered directly to the board there. So you have a potential, if you're all the time connecting and unconnecting that connector, eventually you're going to have a problem. So what I like to do is I like to make a harness, plug it in, and never take it loose. Just make it permanent, okay? Therefore, my solution is to use this, okay, for all the other monitor types. So how am I going to do that? All right, well, let's take, for instance, well, let's go to the, let's see, the V2000 and the G05-802, which uses the 12-pin connector. Okay, well, this is what I made. Okay, this is the 12-pin connector. You got your male in there, and you got the female in there. Okay, so this connector is for the V2000, the Well Gardner V2000, and the G05-802. So what do? You take this connector and you just match up the colors. The colors are the same: blue, green, red, black, white, and brown. So you just plug that into there. Now you would unplug this plug from the monitor, from the harness, and plug it into here. That transfers your power to this connector, which plugs into the monitor. So that will power your monitor through the regular harness. And then this one right here is your signal wires that goes into the plug that will go into the monitor. So you'll be powering the monitor through the cabinet, through the original harness, but the RGB, red, green, and blue signals from the game board won't be transferred to the monitor. You'll be getting the signals from the test pattern generator. Okay, that's my solution. I have the same solution for the Amplifone and the Well Gardner 6100. Here it is right here. This is the 15-pin connector. This connector goes into the monitor. This connector is the same as what's on the monitor. So you would unplug the game harness from the monitor, plug it into this connector, plug this into the monitor, and then you got your 6-pin pigtail that you just match up the colors. You plug them in, and now you're ready to use your vector test pattern generator on the Amplifone or the Well Gardner 6100. Now, I haven't talked about the G05-801, which is in the early Asteroids. Okay, well, like my game, my Asteroids, has the early harness, which has the separate power connector and the separate signal wires. Okay, but it has the factory adapter. As a matter of fact, this is a factory, well, this is the adapter that Bob Roberts sells. Okay, I have a factory adapter like this in my game. What this does is it has the 12-pin connector here that plugs into either the V2000 or the G05-802. So you'd plug this directly into the monitor. So this allows you to use the Well Gardner V2000 or the G05-802 in a game that's set up for a G05-801. The 801 has two separate connectors. It has the 6-pin Molex connector, and it has this 7-pin, which one is missing, which is keyed, where your signal wires go into. So if you had an actual G05-801, you wouldn't have this 12-pin plug. Your harness would plug into the power supply board directly, which has this type of connector on it. And then the deflection board, I believe, has this pin, which would plug in directly into that. So if you had one of them, you wouldn't be able to use the adapter that has that. So my solution for that is the power connector, you just leave connected. The original game power harness that plugs into the monitor power board, you wouldn't mess with that. You would leave that connected, okay? Then you would take my connector that I made here for the G08, okay, which is a 6-pin connector, and you would have to come up with an adapter that would go into this 7-pin connector, okay? So that's what I did. I made this little connector here where, let's see, you'd plug this in here, And then this is the 7-pin connector with one that has the, oh gosh, my mind's gone blank there. It has the key in it. Okay, so then you would be able to just unplug the signal wire from the deflection board and plug this directly into it, just like that. Okay, so that's my solution for that. But I really don't need this because I'm using the G05-802 with the factory adapter, so I can just unplug the 12-pin connector and just use my other cable, my 12-pin cable. Okay, so that's basically it. That's my solution to not having Arcade Jason's breakout board. Now, I haven't seen, Jason hasn't shown one of these populated yet, so I don't know whether he's already started populating these or not. I'm pretty sure that Arcade Shop is not going to sell these test pattern generators until he has a solution for the cabling or the breakout boards, and they have all this ready to go. So I'm sure they're working on it. So it probably won't be that long. Matter of fact, it may even be out before I get this video edited and uploaded. So you never know. All right. So let's see what we can do. Let me set back up again, and we'll connect the VGA cable to the test pattern generator, and we'll hook it up to my oscilloscope, and let's see what this kind of looks like. Okay, well, I got the scope all set up, and I have the X and Y outputs connected to the scope through the connector here, which is connected to the Vector test pattern generator. So let me go ahead and zoom in to the scope, and I'll put the test pattern generator here on the screen, and we'll turn it on, and let's see what it looks like on the scope. Okay, I think that'll be okay there. All right, so let's go ahead and turn the on switch on. It comes on, and you can see there's no signal on the scope. Have the scope in XY mode, of course. All right, when it comes on, it's set up on G05-80X, which is all the G05s. So we'll go ahead and press this button here, which should turn it on. And boom, there we go. And that is the white D cross. That's what you call a D cross. Okay. Now, we figured out that these two right and left buttons scrolls it through the different patterns. So let's go ahead and do the next. White crosshatch. Okay. And as you can see, I have this line going through here. That's because I don't have the Z set up. This scope, I just recently found out it does have a Z input on the back, but I haven't done research to see if it's directly compatible with Vector games, or if you have to, I know some scopes you have to invert the signal and all this, so I haven't done that yet, so I haven't investigated it. I didn't even know it had it until I recently downloaded the manual on this scope. So anyway, all right, let's keep going. That's the white crosshatch. Now we have the white V line, the white H line. This is the white box plus cross. This is the white box. And the reason this connecting line here, which you wouldn't see if you had a Z circuit, if it was on the actual monitor, you wouldn't see this line from the center to the outside. vector monitors draw from the center. So that's why you can see the dot right there in the center. Okay. White cross, white decross, and I think we've gone through all of them now. That's the white crosshatch, yeah, the white V line or vertical line, the white horizontal line, white box plus cross, and then back to the white box. Okay, all right, so let's hit the top button here, and it cuts the signal off, and it goes back to our selection menu. So let's select the next one, which is the G08-003. So this is the G08 color monitor. Now, obviously, we're only going to get the XY lines because this scope isn't color. So, but we'll still be able to see the patterns. So let's hit this button here to select it. Okay, now as you can see, this is the white decross. The pattern is smaller. That's because that's the signal that the G08 needs. So you can actually, if we want to make it bigger, we can actually widen this with our controls on the scope. And I'm going to have to go up one. And let's tweak this to the center a little bit. Okay, there we go. Let me bring the intensity up just a little bit. Okay, so let's go through the patterns for the G08. This is the RGB gradient, okay? We're not going to be able to see this because we don't have the RGB hooked up. Blue crosshatch. If you're on the G08 monitor, this crosshatch would be blue. And this is the green crosshatch, red crosshatch. Seems to be picking up a little interference. Whoops. Red crosshatch, white crosshatch, blue vertical line, green vertical line, red vertical line, white vertical line, blue horizontal line, green horizontal line, red horizontal line, white horizontal line, blue box plus cross, green box plus cross, red box plus cross, white box plus cross, blue box, green box, red box, white box, blue cross, green cross, red cross, white cross, blue D cross. Okay, so that's basically all of them for the G08. Okay, let's go back to the main menu. I'm still getting used to the buttons here. This is the V2000, which should be the same as the G05. And we're going to have to cut this back. So this is the white D-cross, white crosshatch, white vertical line, white horizontal line, white box plus cross, white box, white cross, white D cross. Okay, we're cycling back. Alrighty, so let's select the next one, which is the Well Gardner 6100. Okay, white decross, RGB gradient. Again, we can't really see what that looks like because we don't have it hooked up to the color vector monitor. Blue crosshatch, red, white, blue vertical line, green vertical line, and yeah, just going to step through these real quick because we're going to go through them on the real monitor. All right. Here's the 6400, Well Gardner 6400. I still haven't looked up to see what games the 6400 is in. If you know, put down in the comments what games was the Well Gardner 6400 used in. I got a feeling it was very few. I'm thinking maybe Cosmic Chasm. Was that the Cinematronics Cosmic Chasm that used that? I don't know. If you know, put it in the comments there. Okay, let me select this. And also, this is a lot smaller than just like the G08 was. We'll just leave it there and go through them real quick. Of course, RGB gradients, cross hatches, vertical lines, horizontal lines, box plus cross, blue box, green box, red box, white box, blue cross, green cross, red cross, white cross, blue D cross. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one, which is the Amplifone. Okay, that should be basically the same as the 6100. So, oh, interesting. That is wider. So, yeah. So there is a difference in the 6400. 6400, the signal resembles the G08. Okay. All right, let's just go through these. This is the Amplifone, which I have one in my Star Wars cabinet. We'll be testing it on that. This is the white D-cross. Of course, the RGB gradient. You're not going to be able to see it on the scope. Blue crosshatch, green crosshatch, red crosshatch, white crosshatch, blue vertical line, green vertical line, red vertical line, white vertical line. As you can see, they're not changing on the scope because the only thing that's changing is supposedly the color. Blue horizontal line, green horizontal line, red horizontal line, white horizontal line, blue box cross, green box plus cross, red box plus cross, white box plus cross, blue box, green box, red box, white box, blue cross. Okay, so that's basically it. Now this is the Vectrex. Okay, let's just see what the Vectrex looks like on the scope. Ah, it's even smaller. Okay, and it should have the same basic test patterns as the G05, I would think. So this is the white D-cross, white crosshatch, white vertical lines, the white horizontal lines, the white box plus cross, the white box, the white cross, white D-cross, white crosshatch, and we're back running the same thing. So it's basically the same thing, it's just smaller. And of course I can just change the settings here and make it full screen. That's a little much. But you get the picture. So then it goes back to the G05. So that's all of the monitors, the vector monitors that this will do. You might want to know, where's the Cinematronics monitor? Well, that's because the Cinematronics monitor, which is relatively the same as a black and white G05, with one thing: it's a digital. It has digital inputs. So the game board is sending it the digital signal, and it processes the digital signal, and on the deflection board turns it into the analog signals, which eventually is what the monitor runs on. So I believe Arcade Jason has one specifically for the Cinematronics vector monitor, which actually puts out the digital signal just like the game board does. So yeah, if you have one of those, this won't work for the Cinematronics, but it does all the other black and white and color vector monitors. So, all right, well, that ends this particular test. So the next round of testing, we're going to be using my cables that I made, and we're going to hook it up to the real monitors in the games, and we'll see how this actually functions. Okay, first we're going to go to the SEGA Star Trek multigame, where I have a G08-003 monitor installed. And first we're going to turn it on and make sure it works. It's been a while since I've had it on. That's a good sign. And yes, it is working. So we know the monitor is working. So let's go ahead and hook up the test pattern generator to it. Cut it off. And let me zoom in here. This blue board here is the clamp protection board that came originally with the monitor. What we need to do is unplug, let's see. Well, see, I have, because of TAC-SCAN, I have the BXXYR board, and they're hooked together. This is the main wire coming from the board itself. I guess I could unplug it and plug it into there. It would just run through the BXXYR board. Or I could just unplug it here, and that would be unplugged, and we'll plug it directly into the clamp board. I think that's what I'm going to do, because it goes into the clamp board and it comes out on these wires and goes down and plugs in directly into the deflection board. So we'll go ahead and unplug it right here. And this is the original clamp board. And I'll take my connector. It comes directly off of the test pattern generator. And we want to make sure I got it in the right direction, which is right here is the blue, green, and red. And I used the same color code, blue, green, and red. So just want to make sure we get it plugged in the right direction. And now I'm going to turn this on first, and we're going to select the G08-003, and I'm going to hit the button to start it. and it should be displaying the white D-cross. So let's turn it on and see what we get. Now the game is still hooked up, so I'm going to get the background music. And there we go. We got the white D-cross. Now it might be a little bit out of adjustment, but it doesn't matter. So let's scroll through. Let's go to the next one. This is the RGB gradient. Okay. And of course the gradient, as you see up top, you got the bright or the thicker color lines, and as you go down towards the bottom they get thinner and thinner. So that's basically what that does. The blue crosshatch, and again, I guess my monitor needs a little bit of adjusting, so I can use this to adjust it up. Green crosshatch, red crosshatch, white crosshatch, blue vertical lines, green vertical lines, red vertical lines, white vertical lines, blue horizontal lines, green horizontal lines, red horizontal lines, white horizontal lines, blue box plus cross, green box plus cross, red box plus cross, white box plus cross.
Be the captain of the Starship Enterprise.
Oh yeah. Blue box, green box, red box, white box. And blue cross, green cross, red cross. Have we done these yet? White cross, blue D cross. Green D cross, red D cross, white D cross, RGB gradient. Yes, we've gone full circle. So there we have it. It works on the G08. My G08 is a little bit off, so I could use this to adjust it up. I'm not going to do that right now, but right now I'm just, demonstrating that it actually works on the monitor. So there we have it. All right, well, let's move on to the Atari black and whites, the G05. I have both my Red Baron and my Asteroids here. One is a V2000 and the other one is a G05-802 with the factory G05-801 harness with the adapter in it. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, here's the back of my Red Baron. My Red Baron has a Well Gardner V2000 in it. This is the plug right up here. And the Red Baron, you can get to it, but it's, as you can see, you can't see much of the monitor. The monitor, if you have to take it out, it comes out the front side of the cabinet. The back here is permanently on. So anyway, I got it on right now. As you can see in the picture, it's running Red Baron. I'm also running the Red Zone board right now. I still have the original boards in here. I need to get around to making a mount for the Red Zone board. And maybe I'll do that in a future video when the springtime comes around and the weather gets better outside. We get the table saw out and we'll make a wood mount to hold the Red Zone. Okay, so let me go ahead and turn it off. And I'll be using my 12-pin connector that I made plugged into the connector that goes directly into the G08, which comes directly off the test pattern generator. So we're going to find out, we know that this connector is right because it works on the G08. Now we're going to find out if my my work is good on this. Hopefully we don't blow the monitor up, but let's find out. Whoops. Let me unplug the connector. And of course, this is the connector from the wiring harness. The reason we still need this is because it supplies the power to the monitor as well as the signals. We're just not going to use the signal portion. That's why we have this adapter made here. So the way this works is we have to plug the original harness into my adapter, and then we have to plug the other end of the adapter back into the monitor. Let me get this in the right orientation. It only goes one way. I think I got it right. Let's see. That's the D connector. Yeah. There we go. And of course, the signal pigtail we have right here, which we have the vector test pattern generator plugged into it. And here's our vector test pattern generator. This is the only complaint I have about it. It's the way this cable comes out the top. Might have to, they make a 90-degree VGA adapter, so I might get one of those 90-degree adapters which will screw into this adapter and cause the plug-in cable to come out on the end of it. I think that would be better. And this VGA connector, I'm afraid that eventually it's going to bust the solder joints, just because it's basically no strain relief on it. But anyway, that's a minor thing. We can fix that. All right, let's turn it on. And we already have it. Comes up on the G05-802, but we got a Well Gardner V2000 here. So let's change that. Okay, there it is, 1X V2000. So we'll hit the button, and now it should be putting out the white D cross. All right, so let me turn it on. And think about this. I can't see the monitor from here. Let me put this around the side here, and I'll have to walk around the side to get to the so I can see it. And as you can see, we do have a white X cross. Let me see if I can get the test pattern generator here. All right, the cord's long enough to reach around the front side here. I don't have a way of putting the camera on the test pattern generator, so I'll just, like I did before, I'll read out what it is. This pattern, of course, is the white D cross. So let's hit the button. This is the white crosshatch. This is the white vertical line, white horizontal line, white box cross, white box, white cross, white D cross, white crosshatch, white vertical line. Okay, we already cycled through white horizontal line, white box and cross, white box, white cross, and white D cross. So there you go. Works perfectly. This monitor looks like it's pretty well dialed in. So no problems there. Okay, well, let's move on to the Asteroids, which has the G05-802 in it. Okay, now we're over to my Asteroids Multi, which is in an Asteroids cabinet. This one here has a G05-802 in it, but this is an older cabinet with the owl eye coin door, and it actually has the old monitor cables here, which has the two plugs, the 6-pin Molex and the 7-pin inline plug. And it has the factory adapter, still has the factory cloth tag on it right here with the number on it. So this is a factory harness. And I actually made a few of these years ago, and I made them exactly like this factory harness. And I made a diagram of this, and the diagram is floating around on the interweb. And it's different from Bob Roberts. Bob Roberts has some ground loops in it. And somebody made a comment one time that my diagram was wrong because it didn't have those ground loops in it. Well, I'm sorry, but I copied it directly off of this factory harness. That's the way the factory done it. Now, there's nothing wrong with adding extra grounds. As a matter of fact, I have the Bob Roberts one right here, which is essentially the same thing, only his has a ground loop right here and another ground loop in the other end. That's not on my diagram, but that's not necessary for it to work. So yeah, just wanted to set the record straight on that while I was thinking about it. Okay, we could do this two ways. If this was an actual G05-801 monitor like in a lunar lander, which didn't have, up here is the 12-pin plug. I do have the 12-pin plug. So I can use the same adapter that I made that I just used on the Red Baron. That would you just unplug it here and plug it directly into the monitor. Okay? But I also made this little adapter, so if you had like a lunar lander with an original G05-801, and this was the only two connections you had, this connector would plug into, right here would be another PC board with tall filter caps on it. That's the power supply, which this monitor don't have, but the 801 does. So, you know, that would be plugged into that. Then this connector right here, the 7-pin inline connector, would, I think, plug directly into the deflection board. So if I wanted to, I could just unplug this right here and use this little harness. We might try that just to make sure I got this wired right. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and just use the 12-pin connector that we used on the Red Baron. So I already got it on right now, and as you can see in the other camera, it is working. So let me cut it off. I always like to make my connections with everything turned off. You always want to do that. Okay, so we're just going to unplug the 12-pin connector, and we're going to plug this in. I have to see which way it goes here, because it only goes one way. And these, there we go. That's in. We already got this plugged in to the test pattern generator. And here's the test pattern generator. Let's go ahead and turn it on. And it's already set for the G05-80X, which this is. It's the G05. We were testing the V2000 in the Red Baron. So let's go ahead and hit the enter button right here, and it should be putting out the white decross pattern. So let's turn it back on, and I'll go around the front where I can see the screen. And the monitor is warming up. It's warming up. Is it? Something isn't working. Okay, let me see what's going on here. I mean that, oh, that's not going to work because I don't have any power to the monitor. I would have to make, yeah, I forgot to plug in. Silly me. We need power. I was thinking it was getting the power. If it had been an 801, it would have got power through here. But we still need to get the power through here, so we have to plug this into here. Silly me. Monitor won't run without power. Okay, well, that's a simple one. All right, let me turn the test pattern generator back on. All right, now it should be putting out the white D-cross pattern. So let's turn it back on. This time we should be good to go. Helps when you put power to the monitor. Okay, there we go. We got it. That is the white D-cross. All right, and it looks pretty good. White cross hatch, white vertical line, white horizontal line, white box plus cross, white box, white cross, white D-cross. So we're back to where we started. Yep, white cross hatch, white vertical line, white horizontal line, white box plus cross, white box, white cross, and white D-cross. Back to where we started. There you have it. It works, at least when you plug the power in. Yes, I make mistakes, but so far I haven't made a mistake wiring these harnesses up, so that's the main thing. Okay, before I forget about it, we got one more adapter to try. Let's pretend like this is a G05-801 in a lunar lander. So let's pretend like we don't have the 12-pin amp plug on the monitor, and let's pretend like we have the separate power source, the 6-pin which plugs into the power board with the filter caps that would be here if this was an 801, and this 6-pin plug or 7-pin plug with a keyed slot would be on a deflection board. So this is my little adapter for that. So what we need to do is, let's see, this is the black wire here. Well, it's keyed. So we'll plug that in right there. That matches up the black wire. The green wire is matched up with the red, and the white is orange, and the brown is yellow. That's just the colors that Atari used on this harness here. So, all right, now we're going to hook it into the plug that is on the end of the cable that goes to the test pattern generator, which this is the plug, the 6-pin, that plugs directly into the G08. So what we need to do is match this up. Brown is on the end right here, brown, white, then black, and then green, which is Z. So we'll plug that in. So now we just got this one connector plugged into the adapter harness. And like I say, if this was a G05-801, this would be plugged directly into the deflection board. Okay, so now we got that set up. So let's take the test pattern generator here, And we'll turn it on, and it comes up on the G05-802X. We'll hit the enter button here, which puts it on the white D cross. So let's turn it on, and let's go around to the monitor and see what we got. This should work. No smoke and flames, so let's see what happens here. And there we go. There's the white D cross. So let's go ahead and advance it to the white crosshatch, the white V line, white H line, the white box plus cross, white box, white cross, and then the white D cross. So there we go. That little adapter for the G05-801 works fine. Okay, now we can go test the Amplifone in the Star Wars. Okay, well, we got one more monitor to go, and that is the Amplifone in the Star Wars here. So I've just fired it up. It's a little cool out here tonight and in the game room. And the fan is making a little noise there, but it's quieting down a little bit. So yeah, game is up and running. It looks like it's working good. So let's go ahead and get ready to hook up the test pattern generator. And this time we'll get to use our last adapter that I made, which is the one that has the 15 pins, the 15-pin amp connector. So let's go ahead and hook it up. We'll cut the game off here. Hear that fan running down. Okay, here is in the back, and here's the deflection board, and right here is the connector that we have to take loose. So kind of an awkward position here. There we go, got it loose. Okay, this goes to the deflection board. So we'll take my harness that I made here and plug this in like so. All right. Then we have to take the other end and plug this into there. Now we got to plug the test pattern generator into our 6-pin plug. And let's see what I do with that. Here it is. Now, take this connector off. We don't need this one. And we're going to plug our G08 connector right on here. Match up the colors. So we got our blue, green, red, black, white, and brown. So we got everything hooked up here. Now we've got a test pattern generator. And turn it on. And we have to set it to Amplifone, and we'll hit the start button, and it says white D cross. Okay. Now all we got to do is turn it on. You go around the front and see what we get. I don't see any sparks or see any flames. Smoke, that's good. And look at there. There's the white D-cross. That looks good. All right, that is the RGB gradient. I guess that's what that looks like. I would think, though, it should be longer than that, so maybe my, yeah, I can kind of see, it's real faint. So maybe I could turn the color up a little bit more, or maybe the brightness a little bit more, but that's okay. The picture looks good in the game, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Monitor's probably still warming up. You can see now, looking in the camera lens, it looks like you can see the bright at top, and then the next one is a little dimmer, and you should see one down below that, I would think, but it's not coming through. But that's okay, it's working. All right, blue crosshatch, that looks good. Green crosshatch. Now, in person, this is a solid square with grid squares in it. On the camera, I noticed it looks like it's alternating around. That's due to the refresh rate of the monitor compared to the shutter speed on the camera, which I believe I'm set at, 60p. I could probably change that, maybe cut it down to 30, and it probably wouldn't do that, but just to let you know, it looks solid when you're looking at it with your naked eyes. Okay, there's the red crosshatch, white crosshatch. Now that looks pretty solid on the monitor on the camera. Here's the blue vertical lines, the green vertical lines, red vertical lines, white vertical lines, blue horizontal lines, green horizontal lines, red horizontal lines, white horizontal lines, blue box plus cross, green box plus cross, red box plus cross, white box plus cross. That looks pretty solid there. Here's the blue box, green box, red box. Now, in the camera, the lines look awful wide. I think that's because of the brightness. It looks normal when I'm looking with my naked eyes, so the camera is a little deceiving, but you still get the gist of what it's supposed to be doing there. All right, there's the white box, blue cross, green cross, red cross, white cross, blue D cross, green D cross, red D cross, white D cross, RGB gradient. Okay, we're back to where we started. So, yeah, all in all, it's working. Now, you see that? I got interference, and I think that interference is actually coming from right across the street is a 3-tower AM radio 50,000 watt broadcast station. And that thing will come in over top of everything I got. So every now and then, I think, because the cable I made isn't shielded. The VGA cable is shielded, but the adapters that I made, I didn't really make like a shielded pair going to the red, green, and blue. I could have, but I didn't. So this is just for testing, you know, so I didn't feel the need to go that extravagant. But it works. So I'm happy with it. Yeah, that radio station across the street used to bleed in bad on my telephone, cable TV, VCR, you name it, it would bleed into it. I could go to any one of these video games, and on the audio input on the amplifier, if I was to touch it with my finger, I'd become an antenna, and I would immediately pick up the radio station over the speaker in the video game. So I'm lucky I don't have any more problems with it than I do. So that's just the way it is. So yeah. All right. Well, I think we got a success. So let me go ahead and shut this down, and then we'll come back with our conclusion. Okay, well, as you've seen, Arcade Jason's Vector test pattern generator works just fine, as advertised. I'm very happy with it. I'm also very happy with the way my harnesses came out. So got the one for the color monitors, the 15-pin connector, and the 12-pin for the black and white. The little adapter for the the G05-801. And of course the main cable here has the connector for the Electrohome G08. So real happy with it. The only thing that I probably would grumble about is the direction that the VGA connector comes out. But that can be easily fixed. Like I say, they make a 90-degree adapter, and I think I'm going to get me one of those and put that on here. That way the cable will come straight out the back. Or you could just leave it like this, I guess, and put the cable underneath, and you could fix it to the back of the case, I guess, and sort of form a strain relief. But then you got all this bundled up here. If you get that 90-degree bend one, it's going to shrink the profile down a little bit, make it a little bit better. You could also unsolder this connector and get a connector that's got a 90-degree connector to put on there. So that would eliminate the having to put a 90-degree adapter and make it even shorter. But that's no big deal, you know. I can overlook that. But that's just a little improvement that I would see that I would do to it. Maybe in the next run, might be able to do that. But anyway, like I say, I got this from Arcade Jason in a trade. We did a little horse trading. I had something he needed to finish a project, and at the time he didn't have this done. He hadn't been working on it. So I said, well, whenever in the future, if when you do get it done and finished, I'd like to trade what I gave him for one of these. And so that's what he did. When he finally got it together, I emailed him and said, hey, can you send me one of those? He said, sure, no problem. So he sent it to me, and I'm grateful. It works great. I still want to see how his breakout board is going to work. I'll put a couple pictures up of what the actual breakout board looks like. This isn't the actual board. This is just the traces on the board from the software program, the Gerber files or whatever. He posted that too. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that comes out, whether it's going to be just a direct plug-in or if they're going to have any plugs with pigtails on it. Also, as I was filming this video, I checked on CLOV, the Killer List of Video Games message board, and Arcade Jason had put a post on there, and actually it was earlier today, You know, actually it was at 1:12 a.m. So he's kind of a late nighter like me. Anyway, I'll read what it is. I'll put a picture of it, you know, on the screen here so you can follow. But he put on there under vector and raster test pattern generators for sale. He said the vector test pattern generator features, number one, covers all analog vector monitors including Vectrex. Number two, over 20 hours battery life with dollar store batteries. In other words, just cheap AA cell batteries. Number three, the test pattern generator adapter plugs directly into the original harness of your vector machine. Okay? So it might not have any pigtails. It might just be the harness plugs in one side and the monitor plugs in the other. Can be powered directly from a USB port. So yes, it has a USB port right here. And if you have a power pack, like for charging your phone, a portable pack, or if you have a phone charger, any USB, you plug it in and it will power it up without batteries in it. Okay, that's a good feature. Can be updated in the future. So the software can also be updated. And number seven, 29 different test screens. Many of the screens are duplicates for use with color monitors, and we've seen that in the testing. Okay, here's some information that I didn't have. So it says, how do I get a Vector TPG? As of now, Arcade Shop has all of my stock. He plans to bundle the universal test pattern generator adapters with the Vector test pattern generator. The plan is to give Arcade Shop the blank adapter PC boards for them to assemble rather than me taking time away from other projects. For those overseas that are interested, you can send me a message directly. So, because Arcade Shop, in my understanding, doesn't ship overseas currently, you can contact Arcade Jason direct and probably get them direct through him. But in the USA, you're going to have to go through Arcade Shop. Okay, when can I get a Vector test pattern generator? He says, I guess in 2 to 3 weeks at www.arcadeshop.com. I can't tell you the price yet, but it will be way cheaper and more capable than the $200 Whitco clone. So if you're familiar with back in the day, Whitco had an XY test pattern generator, and they're very rare and very hard to come by, and they're real expensive if you can find them. So, and I would think that this probably does a better job. It's a lot smaller. I think the Whitco one, from what I remember pictures of, is more of a bench type deal. It's not really portable. You could probably make it portable, but it's more of a bench type setup. And yeah, if you're doing a lot of work with XY monitors, I highly recommend to get one of these. I'm very pleased with it. I'm happy with it. Even though I went ahead and made my connectors, who knows? If I like the way the breakout board looks, I might try to get one of those in the future. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I got everything I need to do any of the monitors that this will do. I did not make a harness for the Well Gardner 6400. I never did look up to see what game the 6400 is in. But I don't think I'll ever need one because I probably will never get a game or one of those monitors. So I don't think I'm going to need to make one of those. And probably won't even need the one for the Vectrex, although that looks very simple. It's only a 4 connector. So, you know, I could make another adapter like this one right here for the Vectrex, no problem. And I'm gonna have to go in the garage maybe this summer and dig through the garage and see if I can find the Vectrex. I wouldn't mind digging it out and playing around with it a little bit. Another thing that's kind of neat here on this breakout board, I noticed right here it's got red, green, and blue, and they look like LEDs. And the way they're wired up, I believe they're going to be indicators to where when you plug them into your harness, well, let me see. No, it'll just be an indication of which signal is being outputted, because that's not the signal from your game board, that's the signal from the test pattern generator. If you follow the red, blue, and green wires, traces, they go up to each one of these, which look like a red, green, and blue LED. So that'd be kind of neat, I guess. You'll be able to tell, you know, just an indication of what signals the test pattern generator is outputting. So, yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for this arcade fix. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it's probably running kind of long. I'm going to try to shorten it up as much as I can, but I like to leave no stone unturned, and I like to try to be thorough. I know a lot of people doesn't like to sit down and watch a long video, but I think this is something that's worthwhile if you're into vector monitors or vector games. If you're into vector games, you have to be into vector monitors. It goes hand in hand. So there you have it. This has just been another arcade fix. Have you had your arcade fix today?